hills of Arcadia, long before the rise of sprawling cities and powerful empires, there lived a king whose name would forever be whispered in fear and awe. His name was Lycaon. He was a man of immense power, a ruler whose word was law and whose ambition stretched as far as the mountains themselves. Yet, for all his strength, power had not tamed his heart. In the quiet of his grand palace, hidden behind high stone walls and intricately carved pillars, a darkness festered. Lycaon wasn't just cruel by accident, he reveled in it. He tested the loyalty of his servants with impossible tasks. He mocked strangers who sought his hospitality, and he openly scorned the gods themselves. He was convinced that his wealth and military might made him untouchable, even by the immortals on Mount Olympus. In those ancient days, it was said that Zeus, the king of the gods, still walked among mortals, disguised as a weary traveler, a humble priest, or simply a stranger in need. He moved through the lands to observe, to test, and, when necessary, to punish. He sought to measure the hearts of kings, to see if humanity still held onto the sacred laws of justice, hospitality, and respect for the divine. Inevitably, whispers of Lycaon's arrogance and depravity reached the heavens. Mortals who lived in fear of their king spoke of his cruelty, and their pleas for justice did not go unheard. Zeus, both curious and angered by these tales, decided that this king must be tested. And if the stories were true, if Lycaon failed, he would face the full, unyielding weight of divine judgment. One fateful day, Zeus descended upon Arcadia, cloaked in the simple guise of a mortal traveler. His garments were humble, his walking staff was plain, and his eyes, veiled with the calm of eternity, held a depth no mortal could possess. He arrived at Lycaon's palace, seeking shelter for the night, just as any weary traveler might. The palace itself was a labyrinth of cold stone corridors and torchlit halls. Servants scurried through the shadows, their faces etched with a constant anxiety, anticipating their master's unpredictable whims. They had all heard of Lycaon's reputation for cruelty, but none could have imagined that a god in human form had just walked through their gates. When Lycaon finally met Zeus in his disguise, he did not bow. He offered no gifts, no words of welcome. Instead, he studied the stranger with sharp, suspicious eyes. A mocking amusement danced in his gaze, a sense of invincibility that only a man supremely confident in his own cunning could possess. "Who are you, stranger?" Lycaon demanded, his voice dripping with condescension. "To step into my hall unannounced." Yet, even as the stranger's presence irritated him, a seed of curiosity took root in the king's dark heart. Could this traveler truly be divine, as some rumors hinted? Or was he just another mortal, subject to the same laws of fear and pain as everyone else? It was then, in a moment that would seal his eternal doom, that Lycaon conceived a plan of test so vile, so unthinkable, that it would forever stain his name in the annals of myth. He would prove, once and for all, that this stranger was no god. To do this, he committed an act of unspeakable horror. The details of the story shift in the telling. Some say it was his own son, Nyctimus, whom he sacrificed. Others claim it was a captive, a random traveler, or a hostage from a rival tribe. But while the identity of the victim changes, the crime remains the same. Human flesh was taken, cooked, and mixed with the other dishes. This gruesome meal was then served to his honored guest. Lycaon watched, a smirk playing on his lips, for Zeus's reaction. He was confident that no god, if he were one, would dare reveal himself in the face of such a defiant and horrific act. But Zeus was no ordinary visitor. His eyes, even in their mortal disguise, saw beyond flesh and stone, beyond deceit and illusion. He saw what was laid out before him, the ultimate mockery of hospitality, of life, of everything held sacred. In that instant, his patience shattered. The disguise fell away. The very air in the hall grew thick and heavy with divine power. The palace trembled as the true form of the king of the gods was revealed. Lightning, born from pure wrath, tore through the ceiling, striking stone and timber alike. Flames erupted from the walls, and the grand hall was plunged into a chaotic blaze of fire, smoke, and terrifying, divine fury. The ground shook violently as Zeus unleashed his judgment, and Lycaon's lifetime of arrogance met its swift and terrible conclusion. Terrified, Lycaon fled the burning hall, scrambling into the night. But there was no escape from a god's wrath. Zeus did not merely intend to kill him. No, that would be too simple, too merciful. The punishment had to fit the crime. It had to be a lesson, a transformation that would reflect the true nature of the man. As Lycaon ran, a voice like thunder boomed across the mountains, and a horrifying change began. His body twisted and contorted. His bones shifted and cracked, reshaping themselves. His muscles bunched and elongated. His teeth sharpened into vicious fangs, and thick, coarse fur sprouted from his skin, covering him completely. His hands became powerful claws, and his arms and legs morphed into the limbs of a predator, built for running, leaping, and hunting. The man who had served human flesh as a feast was now a beast, condemned to crave it. Lycaon became a wolf, but this was no ordinary wolf. He carried within him every last trace of the man he had once been: his cunning, his cruelty, and the full, crushing weight of his memories. His human mind remained intact, a horrified prisoner trapped within a body that mirrored the savagery of his soul. He was cursed to wander the forests and mountains of Arcadia for eternity, howling at the moon not just as an animal, but in a lament for the humanity he had lost. He hunted not only out of hunger, but out of the same violent, predatory spirit that had defined him as a king. Legends say that those who heard his howls in the dead of night could feel the echoes of his arrogance, the chilling shadow of divine wrath, and the terrifying reminder that no mortal, no matter how powerful, can escape the gaze of the gods. Over time, the story of Lycaon became more than just a tale of one king's cruelty. It became a warning etched deep into the Greek imagination, a message that those who defy the gods, who scorn morality and basic human decency, risk losing their very humanity. His name gave us the word lycanthropy, and for centuries, the image of the man-wolf has haunted our myths, our folklore, and our darkest stories. Even in the wild, Lycaon's spirit lingered as a symbol. The forests of Arcadia themselves seemed to whisper his name. Travelers who dared to pass through its mountains at night claimed to hear a distant, mournful howl sound that carried both sorrow and untamable rage, a constant reminder of the thin, fragile line that separates man from monster. His tale survives not merely as a story of punishment, but as an eternal mirror reflecting humanity's potential for savagery and the inexorable justice that awaits it. And so, Lycaon remains, not just a king cursed by Zeus, but a timeless lesson woven into the very fabric of myth. Power without morality is doomed. Cruelty will always be mirrored back upon the cruel, and the gods or fate or justice see everything, even into the darkest, most hidden corners of the human heart, in every shadowy forest, in every lonely hour that pierces the silence of the full moon. The legend of Lycaon endures a chilling testament to the man who became a monster, not by a curse from without, but by his own unspeakable choice. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the dark heart of Greek mythology, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories from the ancient world.